Hey, Catholic Divas, welcome back to the show. Today is a special show for myself, Mama Vicky, and Mama Jane, as we remember a very dear, sweet friend of ours, Jen DellaCrosse. Um, and we invite you just to come in, and we want to share what a woman of faith she was, and the legacy she left behind, and the inspiration she is as somebody who walked in faith with our Lord. So come on into the podcast.
Welcome to Cycles and Sanctity, the podcast where Catholic women learn to think clearly, feel deeply, and live confidently in the truth of who God created them to be. I'm Mama Jane.
And I'm Mama Vicky, your Catholic womanhood coaches. We believe womanhood is a gift to be embraced, never managed or met with shame. Our cycles are God's design, a tool for self-knowledge, deeper prayer, and holiness.
We help women heal mentally, emotionally, and spiritually so they can live with clarity, peace, and confidence.
If you're ready to trust your body, understand your interior life, and walk more freely with God, you're in the right place.
Hey, Catholic Divas, welcome to the talk show. It's our podcast, really. I said talk show because I was thinking about our dear friend Jen DellaCrosse, who we are going to talk to you about today, or just share our experience in friendship and faith. Hey, Mama Jane, how are you today?
I'm doing well, all things considering. So yeah, this has been a 1 year anniversary of her death. And you said talk show because her husband, Ryan
Right.
DellaCrosse, is a co-host of the Catholic talk show, which
Hmm.
we'll put into our,
Yes.
our show
Show
notes
notes.
so that if you haven't heard them, um, that actually, just a little side note, that was actually one of the first podcasts I really started listening to.
Hmm.
And I've told you this story, Mama Vicky, but my kids would always know that when I was listening to it, I'd put my earpods on, earpods, whatever, and I'd be in the kitchen, making dinner, but I would be laughing. And my son would always come in and he'd wave to me and he's like, "You're listening to the Catholic talk show, huh?" And I'm like, "Yes, these guys are hysterical." And
They are funny.
um, the early ones with, Father Rich, they've gotten a little bit more serious, but they just would joke around. And I always felt like their podcast was like a bunch of guys in my living room drinking bourbon, smoking cigars while I'm in the kitchen listening to this guy talk. And maybe that's how men think about our podcast, because ours is primarily for women. Um, so Catholic Divas,
Except for
yeah.
we're not drinking bourbon and smoking cigars.
No, no, we're
I
not.
mean, we could be, I guess. I don't, I'm not trying to hold us back, ladies.
No, we're drinking coffee to keep us awake, right?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So I mean, we're laughing and joking at this moment, but we really, if you've been following us, you have heard, and I'm also going to include the episodes that we interviewed Jen
Hmm.
DellaCrosse on
Hmm.
this podcast before she got sick. Um,
Hmm.
she was just a beautiful soul. So I'm going to just pass it to you because you were the first friend,
That
as
is
you
true.
continually reminded
I
me.
will always remind you. Well, it's funny. I mean, if you guys were following us, I met Jen. I had six kids at the time and one on the way. And it's funny because we have different versions. My version is that, we were at mass and she came up to me and she's like, "Hey, I'm the oldest of six and I'm a single soldier here. And if you ever have any, if you need any help or whatever, I'm here." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, cool, cool." And then, I think I got home and I mean, as time goes on, the memory gets like, and 10 minutes later, I gave her a call, but I think it was like a couple days. And I said, "Hey, remember that you said that. I mean, I'd love to cook you dinner if you'd come over." And she's like, "En route." And that was just the start of a beautiful friendship. Now she says she went to father and was like, "Hey, is there a family I can help?" And he was like, "Hey, see that crowd over there? That's your people."
Yeah.
Either way, the Lord, I mean, it was definitely a God thing. And this is back when even though I was very active in the church, I just still did not know a lot about the Catholic faith. And Jen was just a wealth of knowledge and just so patient. Mom is like, maybe you have a friend like this that just is so just an instrument of the Lord, yet just another person. I mean, she was never forceful. She was always compassionate, patient. I remember one time, so my sixth kid that I had at the time, he's just a handful as a baby. He was a lot. He was a challenging baby kiddo. And I don't remember. She said something about Mary, and I was like, "Well, Mary has special graces, and how can I even?" And she was like, "What are you? Listen to yourself. Like, you're not the mother of Jesus. Like, get yourself together." It was just, but it was always just in such human and lightheartedness, and it's just funny because I met her. And she, like I said, her siblings came out. We lived in California at the time, and I got to meet all them and her mom. And it's just to think about the journey. Like I'm reminiscing right now, but who knew the joy it would bring so many people? I mean, that's the thing about the DellaCrosses. They are just a family that brings and spreads joy, and it's just an honor to have known them and continue to know Ryan and his kiddos. But yeah, so Jen was stationed. We were all stationed out in Monterey, California. And then she got reassigned to Fort Bliss, El Paso,
Yes.
Texas, where my aunt lived. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so sad that we must part, but great news. I have a person for you."
And you just kept calling me every time we talked. You like, have you contacted Jen Denner? Have you talked? And I was like, no, no, no. And it was funny because at the time I had four and
Hmm.
was homeschooling, crazy busy, and I was just like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And okay, funny. I'm just gonna disclose this part of this story because I can't not say it. But you guys finally moved. You were moving across country to Virginia, and you stopped with us, and the kids are all there, and out in the pool or whatever,
Yeah,
and
by
you
then
were
I had
like,
number seven and she was five.
yeah,
5 months, 5 months old.
yes, yes, and so you came in and you like pulled me aside and you're like, we have to go to Walmart because I have to get a pregnancy test. My husband won't have sex with me unless I know he swears I'm pregnant and I know I'm not. And I was like, pregnancy test, huh? Yeah, let's go. Now, at this point, I had had a miscarriage 2 years before, and I was 42, and we had literally just had a yard sale, and we'd just gotten rid of all the baby clothes, thinking, okay, well, we have our four, we've got two and two, life is good. And then we come home, and the next day, you take the test, you're negative, and I take the test, and I'm positive.
Hmm.
And you had called Jen as soon as you got into town. And so she's like, yeah, I'll come over for dinner. So that was the day, like when I think of my son James's, like when I found out that I was pregnant with him, I think of Jen because that was the
Hmm.
day that I met her. And I was on such a cloud nine every time I got pregnant, just because of our infertility, like, pregnancy was just always a gift for me. It wasn't, like you had them boom, boom, boom. And I had them like, when am I going to have another child,
You
Lord?
know, what's so funny about that is honestly, we were moving from California. I mean, we had a 15 passenger van. My uncle was with us to help. And what I remember is that we had a whole bunch of laundry and your dryer was like barely working. And you're like, you can do this. I mean, I'm over here. I really don't even, and I guess it's because, Jen had been gone. I mean, she was a known to me. So I barely, I mean, I just remember I mean, we had a hamster in the van. I mean,
I
the trip was insane. Like, divas, like pat yourselves on the back because just getting through parenting, motherhood is a trip.
Amen.
And
Amen.
I look back now, and I mean, Mama Jane and I mean, we're the wise women now, and we have lived it. We do have the t-shirt,
Yes.
and but at the time, you don't. I mean, there's no way to see the future, so you're just
Yeah.
like surviving and constantly invoking all the saints and angels' help.
Yes, yes. And and it was so cool. Like I just still remember that first night. Like I said, I was just, on this cloud nine, I was pregnant, and this single
Hmm.
soldier that was solidly Catholic,
Mm.
solidly Catholic. And, she was just young enough, like she was kind of like my little sister, but she was young enough that my oldest daughter, she could be her big sister.
Hmm.
And that's what I was like, guys. I kept pointing to her like, guys, this is the kind of Catholic you should be. And I
Hmm.
remember another funny story about this because, again, my daughter was a teenager and I had this philosophy of the backyard. It's a long story, but I just kept telling my daughter, okay, these are the four walls of the backyard. It can't be sinful, it can't be unhealthy, it can't be illegal, and it can't be permanent. Those are the four walls. And so she had dyed her hair
Hmm.
blue. I was like, well, it's not permanent, it's not sinful, it's not immoral.
Yeah.
Um, and so that was kind of like the navigating, parameters. And she wanted to get a tattoo, and I was like, nope, that's permanent, that's permanent.
Hmm.
And then Jen Danner
Hmm.
showed us she
Yeah.
had a tattoo
Oh,
of the chalice
jealous. Yep.
behind on the
Hmm.
on the on her back over her
Yeah.
heart. And when
Yeah.
she said it, I was like, ugh, I want a tattoo like that. And yet I don't like tattoos,
That's
you
so
know?
funny. Yeah, I do always remember that tattoo. Yeah. It was yeah, guys, Diva, she was just a joy to know. And I honestly, it's hard not to get tearful
I know. I
because she
know.
wouldn't she would not want that.
No, she wouldn't. No, she wouldn't. And it was such
My
a I just she was it was such a blessing. Like, you think about, like when people come into your life, like she longed to be married.
oh yeah.
And yet, she was in the army, and the army is filled with immoral stuff. And she was able to stand there and be who she's called to be. Like, she would invite the single soldiers over for
Hmm.
game night. And these
Yeah.
guys are like, "Oh, where's the case of beer?" And she's like, "Well, I got a couple of, I got a six pack, but we're not
Hmm.
getting drunk here." And we're playing like they're like, we're playing a game. Like, she was such an anomaly
But
and
the thing is, it made it not
joyful.
weird. But it also made
Yes.
it not weird. It was like you didn't go to that person's house. You're like, oh, I thought we were gonna party, but now this is dumb. You're like, I just had the best time ever.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And she was able to witness to these people who, some of them had relationship
Hmm.
with Christ as children and had forgotten. But for me personally, I mean, she just walked with me. She was here pretty much my whole pregnancy. I remember her taking me out to, I don't even know if it's in existence anymore, motherhood, maternity.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know if
And
it's
that was a
existence either, but I
big
remember it.
that was a
That is a
big
big deal.
deal because
That's
it was so to me in
I,
those days it was expensive
we had all
clothing.
those kids, and neither of us had like a nice maternity shirt till the last kid.
Yeah, exactly. But she just reminded me of like my beauty, which is, just my own brokenness. I just needed to hear that. And then, of course, the one night I needed her, after James was born, 18 days after he was born, I had a double pulmonary embolism, and my 18-year-old and her best friend took James home, had to feed him, and then the four little ones, and they were freaking out. And so she came, and she was ready to go to TDY, which is a business trip for the military, the next day. And she's like, I can come tonight. And and she knew how to minister to those little ones on the couch
Yeah.
because they were freaking out. Rose and Joe saw me pass out, like they were freaking out. They were 6 and 4.5.
Hmm.
Um, and it just was such a grace. And then we had Thanksgiving, and then that next spring she had discerned to become a nurse, and she moved to
Hmm.
Florida.
You
And
know, yeah, go ahead. I'm
no,
sorry.
no, go on.
Just that, she was the first one to ever watch my kids. My brother David had come out for a wedding in Santa Barbara, and she was the first one to ever stay with all my kids. And Quentin, like he was, I'm not trying to call a kid out, but he was a lot. And she was like, hey, buddy, it's me and you. Your mama, she ain't here. So we're gonna figure this out. But again, she did have that grace and and just she just did it with such, we're really putting her on a pedestal. She was human too, I remember when she used to lament, like she would just be like, you're so, you need to be so grateful. Like this is my dream. Like you have these kids and your mother, and that's all I want to be. And I need, I can't find a husband. And, we would pray about it and and it's funny. And, she went to Florida and dot, 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 met
Yep.
Ryan. And I was like, who's this joker?
That's right, because
And of all places, they came up to see us in Alabama at my dad's. Divas, will save that for a whole other place, but that's where I really remember meeting Ryan, which is just like they came into the
the
den.
oh my gosh, the chaos and the brokenness, and yeah,
Yeah,
that
but
was yeah, yeah.
and they
And
still loved us, and we
yep,
hung out, and Ryan turned out
yep.
to be a pretty cool dude.
Yeah, yeah, and then yeah, and it's just then they moved to Houston, and by that time they'd had, let's see, I guess they had four. She was pregnant with
Hmm.
number five with Ruffy,
Hmm.
and we went to go visit them for spring break, and so my kids were older, right,
Hmm.
and they just they loved her kids, and it was just wonderful. And it was just so cool for me because I hadn't seen her. You were really good about keeping up in touch with her and
Hmm.
calling her weekly and things. And for me, I just realized, like, out of sight, out of mind. I don't know whether it's because of the military and we
You just kind of roll
before.
like that.
I do. I have object dissonance or whatever.
I have like 80% of it. If you make
Yeah.
that 20%, it's a good cut.
Yeah. But just to see her as a mom, watching her with her kids, it was so glorious. It's so
Hmm.
beautiful. Um,
I got to I want to say it was Nancy was breastfeeding. It's because Nancy and I'm trying to remember which baby. It had to be Nancy because that was my last one. No, Claire.
no, Claire.
Anyway, it was just we were just both breastfeeding at the same time, and I just
Hmm.
remember like, wow, this is so. Yeah, it was Claire because
Eva.
and we'd come back to visit, and she had had Ava. Yeah, that was
Eva.
just such like we were together, and we were at my aunt's on the other side's house, and I was just like, wow, who? Because she'd gone to Fort Lee by then.
Yeah, yeah.
And anyway, it just who knew? Like here we were I had my last baby and she had, her second baby and here we were breastfeeding and it just and in between there, my number two, all my boys served in the military. And when my number two was enlisted and kind of going through it and really having a rough time, like he was able to go visit the DellaCrosses. It was, just I don't even they might have had Joe. They did. They had a couple kids because one of them threw a toy on my kiddo's head and he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, well, this is what you did to my brothers, you guys would attack them." Just it's so interesting to have this conversation, Divas, and I hope it just brings I hope you guys all have friends in your life like this. Just one. You just need one.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of
That
course the best reunion with you and me and her was my birthday party.
hmm
Back in 23. I was determined to be, celebrate 60. And as I was making this list, I called her out of a lark. I was like, I know this is really last minute, but I'd love for you to come. Vicky's coming. It would be so great. And she's like, you know what? Ryan goes out with his buddies a lot of weekends by himself, and let me talk to him. And so she did. And you guys figured it out. So you guys landed at the same time. And
yeah.
it was so fun because then we went to Starbucks and she kept saying, do we need to get to your house? I'm like, no, Graham and Annette are taking care of it. Steve's got like, no, we're enjoying the time.
No,
And
it was a
it,
glorious 3 hours.
yes, but it was interesting because then, her kids were getting older and
Hmm.
she was having this realization, like,
Big kids,
kids can
big
be
problems.
naughty. Kids can
Hmm.
be
That's right. Little kids,
kids
little
can be
problems.
naughty.
Big kids, big problems.
That's
That's
right.
right.
And it was just, and because, I don't know her mom as well, but I mean, I can't imagine she really gave here. The thing about Jen was, like, she just really understood. She was an old soul. And she really
Hmm.
understood, like, I want to live for Jesus. And if I want to live for Jesus, then I'm going to do these things. She went
Oh,
to Thomas Aquinas College, and we're going to put a link in there. There's a beautiful article about her life, written by someone from Thomas Aquinas that interviewed her. But she just had that determination, like, no, I'm going to live for Christ, so I'm just not going to do these things. So for her to have children, that did some things, and she's just like, that was her thing. Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand why these kids would do something like that. Like, I've trained them, and we're like, yeah, welcome to the real world of parenting, girl.
Hmm.
But then the other thing I loved about it was, at the party, we had about 60 people, and my daughter came down, and her friend was
Lisa.
there, and Jen just intentionally went and spent time with them almost the whole evening,
Hmm.
really pouring into them, really trying to get into, like catching up and having a new relationship with them because they
Hmm.
were older, they were adults now. And but yeah, the way she witnessed, the way she evangelized, the way she loved people was just so amazing.
I mean, my older two girls, still bring her up, and same kind of thing. She knew them when they were little, and then when in Houston, when ironically, who knew that Chris would have a job down there, and we got to go down and see them in Houston as well, and it's just they were able to make a new and different relationship, and they'll still bring up. I mean, she just was a beautiful soul and her impact. And then when she got sick, I mean, she just did it so gracefully. She did everything so great. Her faith was just unshakable. And we're talking about her like this, and yet and being able to be a friend of hers, it wasn't without the guilt and some of the fear that we all have. I mean, she was a human. She was a woman, a mother, a wife, a daughter, a sister, a cousin, a friend, and she just is such an example of someone who, yeah, like you said, lived for Jesus, and maybe she didn't like or understand why what was happening, but she was like this. I mean, obviously, this is the Lord's will. This is my path for whatever reason.
Yeah, and there was still a struggle in that,
Oh, sure.
of course. And I was, again, God's divine providence, the way things worked out. She'd gotten diagnosed, but they had this trip up to Rio Doso, which is in New Mexico, about an hour or 2 hours away from us. And she just was really loopy, is what Ryan said. And so they medevaced her down here, or brought her down to El Paso. And I happened to be on social media. I'm friends with her mom, and
Yeah.
I saw it and I was like, whoa, wait a minute, she's in El Paso. So I called Ryan, and he's like, oh, I totally forgot that you're in El Paso. Because again, it's not like I knew her before Ryan, right? And when I showed, he's like, yeah, could you go see her because I got to clean up here. And I got there like 15, 20 minutes after they were still processing her. And I girl, I did not think she was going to last the day. I
Hmm.
I started calling every priest that I knew. I
Hmm.
was like, you need to come right now. And thanks be to God, we had a priest come, the next day. Her friend came out, her roommate came out, his brother came out. I mean, it was just, and I got to, really meet Ryan at that moment because we spent some time in the hospital before everybody, all of their family came, and just the love that they
Hmm.
had. And he was pretty scared. She later, when we talked, she didn't even remember that. She didn't even
Oh
remember
yeah.
that experience. But she was pretty coherent. That was what the crazy thing, like that, the nurses would come in and like ask her
Mhm.
name, her social, like she could just do, and then she would roll over and just kind of like almost go to sleep. And I'm just praying over her. Um, and then when they found out, and I mean, praise God, she lasted what, 18 months, 19
Mhm.
months.
Mhm. Well, and
Um,
Ryan, God love him. He just let I mean, he was so welcoming and generous with their home, with letting all the friends and family come visit and stay. And I mean, that's a lot. I mean, it's
yeah.
not like I mean, they also have
Yes.
7 children and their lives were continuing. I mean, they were in
Yes.
school and they were, and Ryan just opened his heart and his arms and didn't say, look, guys, you figure it out. Like, I've got stuff to do. He
Yeah.
managed to be gracious and,
Yeah. But
yeah,
was
just
it was, because their oldest son had just
diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so that, and she's the nurse, right? And that was the irony. I just remember Ryan, when we were visiting him during the time when she was sick with all of the medication. Like you sat down with him that one
Hmm.
night and you
Yeah.
just went really slowly because he's like, he just kept saying, I'm not the nurse. I'm not the nurse. Like, why do I have to do
Hmm.
this? And it was just, and the kids, we were able to we were blessed to go see her 3 times
Hmm.
during the illness. And
The night we went out to get pancakes.
yes, yes, that was, and
We
I
got,
still Wednesday,
I,
she died on a
yes.
Wednesday, and
Yep.
I don't really eat pancakes. I've probably eaten more pancakes this past year
Absolutely. Me too.
because it was just such a beautiful memory.
And I'm gonna go to on when I turn 55, which is in August, I'm gonna go to Denny's for the senior special and I'm getting pancakes. It's a plan. My husband's like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "Denny's, dude. It's gonna be like $20."
That's right. Yeah, and then of course, her favorite place. I mean, they lived in Jacksonville, but her favorite place was St. Augustine of Our Lady of La Leche, and we were able to go there with her, and and so she died April 9th, which last year was the week before Holy Week.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then we found out that the funeral was the Tuesday of Holy Week, and both you and I were like, I just told I don't care how much it costs,
Mhm.
I'm going. And
And up we show on a wing and a prayer,
that's
literally.
right. But the thing that I like
Oh,
was
yeah.
so overwhelmed. It was at the cathedral
And it
in
was
St.
packed.
Augustine, and it was packed. I mean, I really felt like this is how probably Pierre Frassati's parents felt when he died and all these people showed up for his
Hmm.
funeral, you know.
Hmm.
But that night, the night before, all those families, and I just like that was her mission. That was
Hmm.
always her mission of supporting and helping families, helping raise, marriages.
Hmm.
She was a Marquette instructor, and
Hmm.
and I'm Billings, and she and I would have these conversations. She went and got,
Marquette's the nurse in her. I mean,
yeah,
we like numbers and charts and I mean, anyways,
yes,
but in
yes, yeah, no, absolutely,
data.
and yeah, and then I mean, just the fact that God gave her that grace to work in hospice, so
Mm.
she was seeing people die. Like there was just so many things that you could look at her life and say, "Oh, okay, this is God was preparing her." And even, she and Ryan had started these missions or these adventure retreats
Hmm. Hmm.
for men and for women, and she had done a couple of them. And our friend Christy Pilato had gone, and then this summer when she got sick, it was supposed to happen like in 2 weeks. And Ryan, I remember at the hospital, Ryan was like talking to Christy because he's like, I just got to hand it off. And of course, Christy's
Hmm.
military too. And she's like, dude, I got it. Just hand me the thing. But Christy was saying to me that she had actually done a retreat 2 years before on the Surrender Novena. And that's really her legacy. That's what she desires her legacy to
Hmm.
be
Well,
is
and I love that at the I mean, who has a favorite part of a funeral? Only Jen DellaCrosse would have that arranged, but we're all saying the Surrender Novena, the whole entire cathedral is on their knees. And Father was like, this is exactly what she is, this is Jen's big dream to have everybody on their knees praying together. It was just so, I mean, she was able to bring joy to even the most, even the loss of her for us here. I mean, she's probably up there right now cracking up at you and me doing this.
right. Yeah, yeah. She's been with us. Uh, she's been with us
Yes.
all this whole year,
Hmm.
and just a lot of moments where I'm like, Jen, I need your help. And
Hmm.
she's like, I got you, buddy.
Yeah.
That was her
Yeah,
favorite.
that was her hey buddy. Yeah,
Hey,
I know she
buddy. Hey,
did.
buddy. Um,
Oh my.
yeah, and it was just so beautiful. But I've really been praying. I didn't really know the Surrender Novena very well. I had heard a
Hmm.
little bit about it, but there's so many devotions that we have,
Hmm.
and sometimes it's a little bit overwhelming of like, oh, I got to
For sure.
do this and I got to do that and I got to do this and da da da. But the thing I love about it is that she gave us that, and we're going to put this in the link as well, guys. We're
Hmm.
going to give you all kinds of stuff. Go to
Yeah,
the
this
show
is
notes,
a
please.
yes, please do.
But
It'll be worth it.
yeah, this they so she shared with us a song, and it's all the 9 days in
Mm-hmm.
1 in 20 minutes. And
Mm-hmm.
she even said when she was interviewed on their
On the
podcast,
Catholic talk show, yeah.
yeah, like, yeah, I know it's supposed to be 9 days, but I just need to hear all nine of them. Like, I sometimes I pray this 3, 4 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And even Ryan kind of gave a witness of, like, sometimes when during the illness, she would just walk around the
Yeah.
house, just take care, Jesus, take care of everything. Jesus, take care of everything. Um, it just and yet the other beautiful thing about her life, Divas, is that she chose to live to the to the very
To-
last moment. She went to Lourdes. They were actually planning on going to Carlo Acutis and Pierre Frassati's uh canonization, a couple of
Mm-hmm.
weeks before she died. Like, she had told us that, and she's like, "Oh, guess what? We're going to Rome." I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, "Girl, this is just crazy." Like, the things that they were willing to do. She was just like, "No, I'm not allowing the sickness to take away the experiences." I mean, they took their kids up to Colorado for skiing, and she's freezing and she's staying in the thing, but she wanted her children to live. She wanted her children.
Mm-hmm.
She understood that experiences were much more important than material things,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to bring people together, that was the thing. And it was kind of interesting, because when we would go down there, she would introduce us to all of her friends of these are my former military buddies. And I just always
Mm-hmm.
thought that was hysterical, because I'm like, neither of us were in the military when we
Right.
met you, but it was when she was in the military.
Right. Right. Yeah. It
And
definitely.
just, I mean, her dying, and even Ryan shared on social media, we were just kind of following. Well, they had that, I don't know whether it was a GoFundMe or
Mm-hmm.
a place where he could share, and all their family came.
Oh, the
And
Caring Bridge. Caring Bridge. It wasn't
Caring Bridge.
GoFundMe. It was
Yeah, yeah,
Caring
yeah.
Bridge.
Caring Bridge. Yeah, I couldn't think of it. And just hearing all the stories, and the last,
I'm willing. I mean, I don't think Jen met a person that she didn't leave better, and
yeah.
definitely left the Lord with them. Now, what they chose to do with it or not do with it, but she definitely in a gentle way. And I know, I mean, my children, your children, um, I mean, just again, that cathedral full of people, but and she just did it in such a gentle, beautiful, funny, fun way.
Vivacious.
Hmm.
Vivacious. I
Hmm.
mean, she really lived for the Lord, and the joy of the Lord was really one of her. The joy of the Lord is my strength. That was really what her motto was, that she lived that.
And it is kind of hard. I mean, they live all the way down in Jacksonville, so like, I hope someday her kids, get a catch this and just know how much they're. And I don't. I'm lucky to have my mom, and so losing your mother's a whole different pain. And you know, Ryan and Jen were able to give their kids the strength and the faith, and their grandparents, their extended family, Jen's family, Ryan's family. It's just
And their
it's
whole
been.
community. And
Mhm.
again, Jen just had this boldness about her. One of the things that also impressed me about the funeral was, like, I don't know, there was what, 4 or 5 priests
Yeah.
celebrating, and then there was at least 2 or 3 in the pews that just
Hmm.
came just because,
Hmm.
and I just was thinking, like, how she ministered to the priest. Like, literally, she was willing to minister to each and every person that the Lord brought in front of her. And she needed ministering too. I mean,
Hmm.
facing this. I mean, she died before she was 50. Her youngest was 3. She has 7 kids.
Yeah.
And yet, the glory of it, and I just, God is so good that now it's Easter week, right? We can think about the resurrection and the hope of heaven. Like,
Hmm.
it gives me great joy to think about, like, when you know, Lord willing, I'm running to heaven. That's what I want. And part of it is I want to see Jen again, and it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be a huge party. And she's interceding for us. And
Mm-hmm.
this is the beauty of the Catholic faith is that death, where is your sting? Oh, death,
Mm-hmm.
where is your victory? No, no, that's not it. It's a transition. And, you know, we get to pray for her and we get to pray to her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the other thing I want to say is sometimes if you have a friend like this or know somebody like this, sometimes it's a little intimidating. Like I want my faith. I mean, I wish I could be like her, and we all have our gifts in our own different ways. And hopefully, so sometimes I'll be like, I don't want to call it jealous, but like almost like admirable. It's admiration and inspiration. And I guess, Mama Jane and I really just wanted to share this with you guys because, the Lord has given us all gifts and it does make a difference and it does matter. And there is, I mean, even though as humans here are like, wow, how would the loss of a mother and a wife of, how is this good, guys? Like, Mama Jane, Mama Vicky, like, what's going on? And we didn't say that part was easy or
Right.
necessarily but God's plan is way bigger than ours, way bigger
Amen.
than ours. And her life definitely shows many so many other things. That's again, here we're telling these stories of way back when we have a non-working dryer and who's pregnant and isn't pregnant, and who knew the glory we would see, the gifts, the other people we've gotten to meet, the to get to know Ryan and Ryan's family. I mean, it's just the gifts are to go on and on. So I just always find it, and my husband and I listen to Surrender Novena all the time. I mean, it just has become a very staple part of our faith, and um, it's just been a gift. And so just know that that is there for everybody. Like, when I was way back when I was young, and I'm like, I don't have special graces. She's like, get real, get real. And I have to remind myself, I think of her often when I like start to have a pity party. I'm like, oh my gosh, pull yourself together, Vicky.
Yeah.
Say a decade, say our Father, like, come on
Yes.
now.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That really was kind of like her philosophy. And she was so down to earth. And one of the things, yeah, like you said, was death is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Death is hard. We are
Yes.
not,
No.
divas, please hear us very clearly. This is not trying to minimize death going into the glory story. No, this was real. And that was one of the things she talked about was the fact that, like you said, like somehow, some way, this is good for God's glory. And I know for me personally, the day of her funeral, I was up early and just really talking to the Lord about this. Um, and he gave me an understanding of possibly, like, I don't know, one of the things he showed me was like she's like Saint Therese, like I'm going to do good in heaven. Like that's my mission. Like I'm really now my work is really started. And that's kind of it was such a comfort for me in the fact that there was just there was more to it than that, but which I don't want to share. But it gave me this certainty of like, yeah, that's right. God's plan is better than our plan. And
Mm-hmm.
that was part of you and my
Yeah.
tears was like, Jen DellaCrosse, wait, this is not supposed to happen to Jen,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right? Like Jen,
for sure.
like you said, like we do kind of put her up on a pedestal, like this is the
And I mean, like,
girl, like,
like me, I would expect that. Like, know.
and
Um,
yet, but the Lord loved her so much and gave her this grace. I mean, it really is a grace in suffering. Like, this is the part of the Catholicism that's
mhm.
so hard for people to understand that suffering can be redemptive. And I
Yes.
know she offered all of it for so many souls, so
Hmm.
many souls. Um, and God heard her prayers. I just have to believe that she was a friend of God. She is a
Hmm.
friend of God's. And isn't that what a saint is?
Hmm.
is a friend of God. And that's what we really hope this podcast to be, is to help you in your friendship with God. We're
Yes.
still working it
We're
out.
still working it out. Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah. So, today is a special day, 1 year anniversary, but I if you know her, Divas, we'd love for you
oh,
to
please put a comment.
put a comment, come over to the Facebook page and share, share in your social media, um, hashtag Jen DellaCrosse, hashtag Surrender Novena, because
Hmm.
again, that was she had a very clear understanding. Like she wasn't like she was so smart and she was so prudent that she really thought about the future. And that was one of the things she told Ryan, was like, I want my legacy to be the people pray the Surrender Novena. And so his team got on it, and they've got a whole website. You can order t-shirts. And one of the things I have to tell you, I bought two t-shirts, and I'll wear that t-shirt many times to the gym when I'm working out. And I can't tell you how many times, because it just says, I surrender my
Hmm.
Jesus, I surrender myself to you. Take care of everything. And I can't tell you how many times people that I don't even know, or they'll be in my class, or I'll be walking through to my class, and they'll be like, "Ooh, I like your t-shirt." And then I'll say, "Oh, are you Catholic?" And they're like,
Hmm.
"No." I'm like, "Oh, well, yeah." But I get to have this conversation because they don't understand what, this is the Surrender Novena. And I thought, wow, this is such a witness. And I remember Ryan saying, like, that was way she always had a t-shirt that had something
That's
Catholic
true.
on
Yeah, that's true.
it. So, divas, if you want to witness in a way that's, not verbal, but, preach the gospel at all times and sometimes use your words, as St. Francis says, buy some Catholic t-shirts, but go to
Yes.
the Surrender Novena website for them and support that mission. That you'll get a prayer card with the Surrender Novena, a little bit of about I forgot all the
Perks.
things, yeah, the perks in it. Um, but just trust. If you've lost a loved one this past year, maybe you're still suffering with the sorrow
Hmm.
of that loss. I want to
Or you're
offer pray the Surrender Novena for them. Um, this weekend will be Divine Mercy Sunday. That's such a great grace. Participate in the surrender and in
hmm
Divine Mercy. Pray for the holy souls. Pray for the holy
hmm
souls in purgatory. It's a very real dogma of our faith. And pray for our own our own death. You know, uh, that we will be ready for death. That we will be prepared, and that we've done the things that we're supposed to do and give it to
And
God.
yes, and I think that's the other beautiful thing. I like to think that I am ready at any time, but I'm selfish, and the thought of leaving my kids, and they're pretty much grown, would over, it's very, it was so beautiful to see how selfless Jen was and is. And I know her kids and Ryan have to have a huge hurt that we can't even wrap our heads around really, but she was able to give it to them and to her, and just so gracefully accept and surrender, truly surrender. And that's why I think, just again, to have the song, we're not, novenas are hard. But just incorporate that into your life and you'll see change, I promise.
Yeah,
Just
it
even
is.
even if it's on in your house, in your car, in your AirPods, on your walk, whatever.
Yeah, it's a
It's
20-minute. You can pray
mhm,
all 9 days. And it is, the first time you hear it, it's almost like the litany of humility. I remember the first
mhm,
time
mhm.
someone presented that to me. I was like, "What? You want me to pray that, like, others be chosen and I be forgotten?"
Yeah.
Like, what? Are you crazy? You know, but and the Surrender Novena, what is it, day 4? It
Yeah.
says, is the sick person, like, for me, I just remember driving. And listening to this after we had gone to visit her one time, and it said, is the sick person getting worse? Trust in my plan. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, please, like, because again, at first we were praying for a miracle. They were praying for a miracle that we were praying to Blessed Casey
Hmm.
Solanos. But as the journey kept going, it was like I'm opening my hands and releasing, and whatever you want, Lord, whatever you want. And
I just have to real quick read day two, a part of it. And I know this has gone on long, Divas, so thanks for hanging in with us. But day two, surrender to me does not mean to fret, to be upset, or to lose hope. Not nor does it mean offering to me worried prayer, asking me to follow you and change your worry into a prayer. It is against the surrender, deeply against it. To worry, to be nervous, and to desire to think about the consequence of anything. It is like the confusion that children feel when they ask their mother to see to their needs and then to take care of those needs for themselves, so their childlike efforts get in their mother's way. And
yeah,
that really took that day two really got me because I was like,
yeah,
oh, wow.
yeah,
And it
yeah.
just is, our God is a good and loving father.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we're his children. Like Therese is, always like we're like little toddlers that can't even get up the
Mhm.
first step. We kind of try to climb and then we fall down, and you know,
Yeah.
sweet Jesus comes down and just picks us up and carries us. And that's really
Yep.
what that whole novena talks about is,
Hmm.
carrying, it getting coming into the flow of the graces, or turning your eyes of the soul, closing your eyes of the soul, just
Trust
yeah, trust.
and
So,
faith.
Divas, we really hope that you trust the Lord. Um, Again, if you knew Jen DellaCrosse, we would love to hear your stories, because again, this is what's powerful. The story of the resurrection was so powerful that
Mm.
it was told. Remember, the Bible wasn't created for 300 years.
Right?
It was oral tradition. Mary Magdalene's story was told over and over and over again, and
I mean,
diff
generations.
yes, and different way, that's the living faith. So
Hmm.
if you knew her, if you knew someone that knew her, if you know somebody that's been praying to her, that I don't know, has had some sort of miracle or some kind of intercession, we would love to hear about that as well. I don't know. I'm not well versed in saint making. I don't know how that works, but I would love to help be part of that
If there's a
process.
voting, if there's a,
Yeah,
yeah.
something that just really, because again, she was a friend, she is a friend of God's, and she she understood. She understood the glory of God, and she was such a witness to Christ's love and mercy. So, and again, if you lost somebody this year and you're still mourning, we'd love you need some processing, emotional processing. That's what we're here
Mhm.
for, right?
That's
That's
right.
that's
That's
our
right.
our specialty.
And just please throw up a prayer for the Danner family, the DellaCrosse family, to keep their faith strong
Yeah, this is
and
going to
lift
be a
them
hard
up.
day for them. They're having a memorial in Jacksonville. I'm sure they're probably having a memorial on the West Coast with her family as
Hmm.
well. And uh, you know, so we love you, divas.
Yes, thanks for hanging in.
Yes, God bless you. And we have another special episode next week. We're still in
Yes.
Easter season,
So
so
come on back.
God bless you.
God bless.